helping each other with, in the way that iron sharpens iron in a way. We're in the weight room, and the harder we work as a group, only the better for us.
That's right. Iron sharpens iron. That's Cade McNamara as we kick things off on this Monday. You hear that from athletes and coaches about getting in the weight room and iron sharpening iron. They say it because it's true. And there's Cade McNamara talking about sharpening that iron. That was on the In the Trenches pod. The football players, that's what they've got. This summer phase led by the players in there working out. And today, actually, it's still spring. You might find that hard to believe. You notice how long the days are. Well, the longest day of the year is going to be tomorrow, and that's the first day of summer. So the last day of spring. We're ready to go here. We're part of Maize in Blue Review. If you're watching via the video, you can see our first screen on there with Maize in Blue Review. But we talk Michigan, the latest in Michigan sports. We're here live weekdays at 1:00. We take your calls. We read your feedback. We do all of that. And then we talk about what's shaking with the Maize and Blue. We do have, if you're looking at the chat, we do have a call-in number that is available for you. Write it down if you're listening to the podcast, and then fire off a call in the 1:00 hour, 810-666-1574. You'll be able to see it on the screen if that's something that you want to get into. And before we jump into what we're talking about, I want to let everyone know that you can also get involved all day, all night by joining up with us on the Maize and Blue Review. And you can do that by going to rivals.com. Love to see you. We've, I would say that Josh Henschke, who was at the Tigers game over the weekend, looked like he was having a ball, took some pictures, did a good job taking some pictures, did a good job delivering a victory too. Things were not looking so hot for the Tigers, as you know, but since Henschke went to that game, the Tigers are 2-0. And Josh is doing a good job not only sprucing things up, man, energizing Maize and Blue Review as we're pushing forward here through the summer and, trying to bring you the best Michigan coverage. And I could tell because things have been amped up for sure. All right. It's going to be really hot this week. And it does appear, you might want to say finally, and I think that's fair, that Michigan football recruiting is heating up. It's something that we're going to be talking about today. Also, we've got some championship rings to show you. I've got some interesting photos, entertaining photos as well. And I got a video of the possibility, the Michigan basketball team, they just picked up a transfer from Duke, Joey Baker, a 6'6". He's a grad transfer. And Michigan is in the running for this international player, and they're one of 3-4 teams. But if you look at the the other teams, nothing against those teams, but it's looking good for Michigan. It's certainly a name to monitor, and we will get to that. But we'll start with football recruiting. And if you're on Twitter, if you're on social media, you see all the different high school players that come into Michigan and get a look-see, tour the facility and everything else. And then they all take these pictures in these different rooms with the shoes. I've never been in there myself, so I don't have any idea what the setup is like, but they've just changed some things around because I've noticed a lot of different things. And what you're looking at, if you're watching the screen, is one of Michigan's now 7, because Michigan just picked up a commitment. We'll get to that coming up here. You might say I'm burying the lead, but Brooks Bahr is who we're looking at here. And Brooks is from Wilmette, Illinois. He's a defensive end prospect, and he's holding this sign that I see all the recruits now and commitments hold, rare air, and it's got Jordan's number in a football. And all that's fine, and it's cool for the commitments and everything else. And then I looked a little bit closer, and if you look at Brooks's helmet, and then you look at his shield, you will notice the jump man. I didn't notice this the first time. I just noticed this today. You notice the jump man on the screen. Now, so you say thumbs up or thumbs down. Let's take a closer look. There it is. Brooks Bahr. So you've got the jump man on the shaded screen. Now, what do I think of this? If it doesn't interfere, like, if you're, I would think that you'd be looking out, but I don't know. The technology maybe is so good, and maybe it's just for show. I don't know. It could be. It could be just for show. And I would also think, without knowing and not, knowing the latest technology and everything else, that if I was looking out one of these windshields for the helmet, visors, windshield, that I would think that it would mess with the colors. You'd want the whole thing the same color, but I'm not sure of that. And if not, just by appearance, it is pretty cool. And if they're just putting them out there for the recruits, like, hey, check this out. You never want to wear it in a game because it mess with your possible, then maybe not. But it looks to me, it looks pretty cool. And there's one thing about advertising. There's advertising, you splash it all over the place and feel like, God, how many things do they? And I have to admit, when I see it on the NBA uniforms, the little swatches over there, and look, I'm good with advertising and get some more advertising here on the Michigan Football Today show. But at some point, you're like, come on, man, that's a little bit, isn't it a little bit too much? And yet with Jumpman, it doesn't seem like that to me. I can't get enough of it. Just on the picture that I'm looking at, you see it on the uniform, and now you can see it on the visor on the helmet, which is pretty cool. Now, I don't know all the technicalities there, but the helmet, was it shut that makes the helmets? I'm not sure. But you'd wonder if they had to do anything to get involved with getting the approval there. And maybe, again, it's just for show and not for something that we'll see in games. I don't know. I do know the chin straps. A couple of years ago, they had the Michigan on the chin strap, and I thought, yeah, that looked pretty good too. But I noticed they did away. Maybe too much. Can there be too much maize or too much blue or too much Michigan or too much Jumpman? This beauty would be in the eye of the beholder. I got a couple other looks at Bahr's face mask. There's the real close-up. And, yeah, I liked it. So that's why I put it there. And there's just a little thumbnail of it. Of the helmet. Antoine likes the logo on the visor, and he would say they make it see-through. Yeah, I would think so too, Antoine, but is the technology there that, we're looking in, we see two-tone. You're telling me that Bahr looking out, he sees nothing except, the shade that is provided by the visor? Antoine saying they need to make the Jumpman logo with a football instead of a basketball for the football players. That would be my idea. Well, if you go back and look at the thing that he was holding, Bahr, in the first screen that I put up there, see if I can go back to that one. I should be able to go back to that one. Yeah, here it is. That is you see it, Antoine. Maybe I can't put everything up there at once. There is a football. So I think what you're saying is something that they responded to, because this rare air, you got the Jumpman sort of logo. It's certainly down here, the Michigan Times, the Jumpman logo, and they call it rare air. And they do have a football in there. So I think your advice is not... it's something that they have implemented. You ask, and they deliver just like that, Antoine. How about that? Can't get enough of those Brooks Bahr masks. I don't know why the screen's going a little crazy. Maybe I go Michigan did get a commitment this weekend. Deakon Tonielli, a tight end, 6'5" from Oswego, Illinois. Deakon, a tight end named Deacon. Now, you're old enough, you might know the name anyways. Deacon Jones, who was great for the Rams, part of the fearsome foursome. But Deakon Tonielli, Okay, cool name. Illinois Rivals has Tonelli ranked as a 3-star, committed over the weekend, and here he is. Now, if you recall, Michigan had a 4-star tight end commit, I don't know, a couple months ago out of Massachusetts, Andrew Rappelier. He has since decommitted and committed to Penn State. Michigan, the word is that they're still open to looking for tight ends. And so this doesn't mean that they're done necessarily at the position, but it had been quite a dry spell for Michigan. I don't need to tell you if you're watching this. I mean, you're a big Michigan or listening to it, big Michigan fan. You get where, you go through football and it's like, all right, basketball, so all right, hockey, okay, let's see what baseball. And then you get into the summer and then you're really like, what's going on in recruiting? It's like, where are the commitments? What's going on here? Why is Michigan? And then you get some people saying, yeah, just relax, And then I'm more in the relax category than I am in the panic category, but I also understand the concern where you're thinking, and I was thinking as well, that Michigan, if they weren't, didn't win the Big Ten in, close to 20 years, and they had a top 10 class last year, and thinking, hey, you win the Big Ten, you don't have to answer that question anymore. Maybe you'd see a little bump and see that bump early, and maybe they still will get that bump, but it just opens things up where you get a lot of people, and they're not even whispering it, they're actually screaming it when they're on social media that, Jim Harbaugh, over there flirting with the NFL. This is what happens. Look at that. His 2 assistants jump ship. I mean, this is the outside of Michigan narrative. The coordinators are gone, and, Harbaugh, who knows when he's going to take off again. So that's being used against Michigan. I don't know if it's being said about Michigan, whether it's true or not, we don't know. And yeah, we're not even into the first day of summer. We're here on the last day of spring, and you get into. I'm trying to figure out when the date is, or the day, or the week where you do become concerned. And Michigan just did pick up their 7th. I would say that if things aren't really picking up, by August 1st, they go an entire month of July, and they're not, pulling in some big time names, and you're not feeling really good about them, then I can say, take your finger that might be just over the panic button here and maybe put it right over the panic button and still knowing that there's going to be a lot of time there, and feeling like, okay, I'll hit it. And even if you do hit it, you realize that, they can get guys, in August all the way up till February, and you start counting it. But certainly once high school season starts, the recruiting season's now. So you expect to see some of that. And maybe you are going to see some of that because what you have here from Josh Henschke, the aforementioned publisher of Maize and Blue Review, I saw today that he has put a forecast in for yet another commitment, a defensive end. And that would be Michigan's, 8th commitment of the season. So that is expected that is going to happen here shortly. I would say as early as this week, with maybe as early as tomorrow. And then, a commitment's a commitment, and a silence, and, rumblings, and insiders, and all of these things. It's all good. It can whet your appetite for any of it. But, there are some really good indicators that Michigan's about to, they just got their 7th commitment over the weekend, and like I just said, number 8, but 9, 10, 11, 12, like that this is going to happen here sooner rather than later. Sooner, this week. Whenever you say 2 weeks, so it's like, I go back to the pandemic where everybody's like, well, if we just do this for 2 weeks and get out ahead of it, and then it became one of these things. Well, 2 weeks. So I feel like I'm laying that out here, but so I'll just say a week. I feel like that I could be sitting here next Monday and that Michigan could go to 9, 10, 11, 12. I feel like that could happen. I feel like, they're on the verge of that. Now maybe they'll have to wait another week, and maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but that's the way I feel. The momentum is building. The seal has been broken, and I'm feeling like there's going to be some commitments here happening. That's that is some tea leaves. That is some insider information. Combined with the tea leaves, all ground up and slam down to see where I'm at. So things are looking all right for the Wolverines. One of the commitments, I showed you Brooks Bahr and the visor and everything else a month or so ago. Folks were getting worried about Raylen Wilson, a linebacker out of Tallahassee, Florida, because Georgia and Florida, he was going to go and take a look at those places. And I think he did with Florida. I was looking through his Instagram, and I think he has a picture of, hanging out by I don't know, look like a Lamborghini, maybe down there in the swamp in Gainesville. So, but Wilson is still committed to Michigan, and he took some pictures in Ann Arbor over the weekend. And it's always good to see what a guy looks like in the maize and blue. And I'm going to say that he looks pretty good. And he's got a pose where he's laying down on the field on a Michigan flag with his hands behind his head. All of the players are now taking that particular photo. If it was only one, I could say, yeah, it looks like Wilson's having a really good time. They all take that particular photo, and you can see why. It looks pretty cool. So at least I don't know, is it a good indicator that he's going to stay with Michigan, that he's happy? You're always going to be, you go visit, you talk to the place that you committed to, and they're like, hey, stay with us and everything else. It's not bad news that he came up here and that he's committed to Michigan and that he put the maize and blue on and took some pictures. So I would say that's the kind of stuff that looks good. Antoine with some more feedback here is talking about the Jordan with the basketball, make it a football. Oh, you mean the actual silhouette of the jump man? You want to make it him jumping with a football in his hand? Is that what you're saying? Let me see if he clears that up. His highlights, nice hands. Even the young man quarterbacking a few times. We know Michigan likes to throw to the tight ends. Antoine's already watching video of Michigan's new commitment. Michigan was late last year for whatever reason. Seems to be a tradition. He doesn't like it, but whether it's on purpose, he doesn't know. And yeah, he wants to change the actual jump man. So instead of having Jordan, I mean, that's the logo. Yeah, I would be against that myself, Antoine. So you're saying like the little picture up on the jersey, you could see there, change it and having him split-legged and throw a football. If they did go and so I mean that's Jordan's brand, so he would never want to do that. Who was the DB that went up against it was Wisconsin and came over his back with the one-arm pick? That was Jordan Lewis, wasn't it? Came up with that interception. I remember, being at the big house for that one. Rain starting right after the game. Stadium emptied out. I was sitting there. The lights were still on. The rain was coming down. Michigan wins that one. What was it, 14-7? If there was ever, besides the jump man, a silhouette that they were going for, you could come up with a lot of different players and, great players and everything else. But that one, it happened on the field, and it's pretty cool as potential logos would go. All right, let's turn our attention to basketball. And Michigan is in the mix with Yousseff Khayat. Let's go with Yousseff Khayat. Now, Khayat is a Lebanese basketball player that's playing overseas, 6'7". He is 19 years old, but he is for this upcoming year. And Michigan is in the mix. A couple of other schools, Xavier was one. Let's see if I could look through the list to see where the other ones were, but Xavier was one. It wasn't like a who's who with his other teams, and you could say, "Oh no, then we don't want him." I don't know. Maybe let's. You might be right about that, but let's watch some of his tape to see that maybe Khayat, maybe you would want him in the maize and blue. So let's start that video up. And what I found by watching this is that he is listed at 6'7", and here he is with the ball, a couple series of moves in the lane, turnaround jumper. He's listed at 6'7". Here he is in a drive, scoring from the right side. Here's his jumper, nice extension. It looks pretty nice, and he's listed at 6'7", but he looks like, and here he is throwing one down on the break. He looks bigger than 6'7" just on this video. Here he is out in front of everyone throwing it down with a right hand jam. And, now he is underneath, a little fake, little right-hand hook. He's got a little bit of a build on him. He is skinny. I saw, and here's a nice dime from up top. An international player. Michigan has had some success. If you want to put Caleb Houston and Moussa Diabate in that mix just this last year, two guys going pro, okay. But certainly with the Wagner brothers and Franz, I saw some people saying shades of Franz Wagner, and you can see it. I mean, Franz was 6'9", ended up being 6'10", grew at Michigan, but similar type frame. But this kid looks like he could shoot it. I don't have his 3-point numbers here. He's playing, this is international play that we're watching him, but the thing is, he's not just staying outside. And here is a look at that jumper. He looks like he's got longish arms. Like even if he is 6'7", maybe, you would say he's got close to a 7-footer's reach. I don't know. But he doesn't just stay outside. He's athletic enough where you can get up and down the floor. He's filling the lane. And here he is finishing in traffic. So all of those kind of things, I like. And here's Ty saying he could be another Franz Wagner. Hey, you be another Franz Wagner? Let's go. The international part, though, is that, you think about with name, image, and likeness. And I thought that was one of the big reasons that both Moussa and Caleb took off, because they can't benefit from getting name, image, and likeness. But there are some other players like Oscar Tshiebwe, the player of the year last year for Kentucky. He was able to get I don't know if it's a work visa. I don't understand the particulars of the visa. Here's another J from the outside. Hey, if he called the glass there from up top, all right. That one looked pretty good. Couple more here. But, maybe these guys now have figured out how to get a visa. That looked a little bit like a Steph Curry move. Here he is from downtown. Get a good look at it. Off the glass again. Now, I don't know. I know enough as I'm going to stop it just for 1 second as he goes underneath and makes a layup. I know enough about basketball that you're not shooting it from outside and from 3-point land trying to use the glass. So 2 of his highlights from 3-point land have the ball going off the glass and then going in. Now, I'm not saying that he can't shoot. I'm just saying I wonder why anybody that's making up a highlight package would show 2 luck shots. Now, you don't have to apologize. I have also shot enough where, I shoot one, it seems true, and then, it bounces off the front of the rim and rattles and goes out, and you're like, man, that couldn't have been any better of a shot. Man, seemed like it was so dead center. So once in a while, if, you catch glass, you feel like, the shooter's bounce or that those things are equaling out a little bit. Is if you shoot enough, you miss enough close ones. But I do wonder just for a second why you would throw 2 3-pointers from downtown going off the glass. Nobody's, trying to shoot it off the glass. Again, a couple more minutes here of a guy that Michigan is going after, an international player. Here's on the floor, showing that, he's ready to get after it, hustling. Here he is. What was he following the play? Number 4, setting up from the wing. That looked pretty good. I mean, the shot looks good. Again, is he getting rise? Is he stationary? Yes. The one thing that I haven't seen from him, and here he is driving, and this is the part I feel like, and here he is taking it off the dribble, which is nice to see. But one thing that I am not seeing from him, here's another open J. It's just open J City. where he's a set shooter at 6'7". He's just standing out there, much like Caleb Houston. Watching his film last year, Caleb Houston, you watch it, and he's just standing outside, they're throwing the ball, and it's like, wow, it looks pretty good. He's dropping them from everywhere, and you keep watching this film. The thing is that when you get to the Big Ten, guys, you're not just able to stand out there and get these easy looks with it being a set shot. Sometimes, but most of the times, what you're going to have to do is take a dribble and, shuffle over to the side. You're going to have to put it on the floor and get a step back to get your own 3-point shot. And I haven't seen the ability of Yousseff Khayat to be able to do that. So I say, is it a little bit of a concern? Maybe. Now, if you had Khayat out here, throwing a jab step and throwing a big, step back from downtown, going from right to left, you'd say, oh man, this is exactly what you want. I haven't seen that in his repertoire. And guess what? If you're making his film, instead of throwing the 2 threes that he's standing still out there that go off the glass, why not show some of his, footwork and step back ability if he has it. So, but there's a couple, at least 20 more seconds. Maybe we have one of him getting his own shot. Here he is with a steal, taking it the distance and just a layup there. Here he is taking it off the floor. Nice pass over to the wing. I mean, it was just a pass. Underneath, throws it up and in. Gonna have to get stronger. I'm gonna say here he is dribbling in the open floor. Maybe this is a spin. Oh, and in the lane. That was the nicest one that I have seen yet from him. Here he is outside, putting it on the floor to the rack, and good. All right, so there is the video for Yousseff Khayat, and we'll just monitor that situation. But it could be one of these deals where, Michigan ends up picking up this guy. Now, it went, remember when the thing started with the transfer portal, it was Pete Nads for Northwestern. It was like, ooh, man, here's somebody. And especially when you looked at his three-point percentages, you're like, yeah, this guy would be perfect for Michigan. Nance ends up going to North Carolina. Then there was Terrence Shannon Jr., where it was like, this kid was the high riser, and he had gotten better at shooting. It looked like also an explosive player. Something like, oh, okay, Terrence Shannon Jr. There were some credits that weren't going to transfer. So in the end, Shannon's not coming. So no Shannon, no Nance. Emoni Bates' name, you may have noticed this. Emoni Bates, once the most coveted player in last year's class, all the way through 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. And then he slipped back a little bit. I think it was the 3rd player, maybe behind Duran from Memphis, who he ended up playing with. And then also Chet Holmgren. But, nonetheless, he initially commits to Michigan State, decommits, goes to Memphis, is not the, immediate superstar there. Now he's back in the transfer portal. He is the only player left in like the 100 ranked transfers. He's the only one. And then there was one, Emoni Bates. And, over the weekend, it was like, ooh, Illinois. Illinois looked like they were going to get him. And then Louisville fans are still hoping that they were going to be in with a chance because it looked like that's where he was going originally. But maybe he wanted a little bit more name, image, and likeness. And I think this is why, when it comes down to Michigan stance, anybody that is connected with Michigan, they're telling people like, no, that's all. They're not saying this verbatim. That's one-sided, but it felt like that Bates was putting Michigan's name there. It wasn't Michigan, making any kind of push behind the scenes or anything else. And, his dad is like, LaMelo and Lonzo's, dad. I guess I've never met him, but that's what they say. A real hands-on, real handsy. No, not handsy. A real hands-on. A real hands-on father. And look, name, image, and likeness. Shopping yourself around for the biggest guaranteed money. While you can say that's illegal for the schools, they're 100% doing it. They're 100% not having any repercussions about doing it. And they had been doing it before, and now it's just as easy as, hey, just don't say that, we promised you it. And then you're here, here's the stacks of cash. It's very easy now. I mean, I don't know if it was easy before, how they were able to funnel money, but it is easy now to get money to players. And it's not illegal for Emoni Bates' dad to go out there and say, hey, what are you promising? Or I'm sorry, what are his opportunities for name, image, and likeness immediately? However the conversations go, it's pretty close to, hey, what's the opportunities immediately, and what am I going to get if I go here? And Michigan is not, whether you say it's right or wrong, and this is what Harbaugh said, either right or wrong. We're not doing this transaction stuff up front. So it was always my feeling that if Emoni Bates and Michigan did get together, that Juwan Howard was behind the scenes saying, all right, Emoni and Amani's dad, you want to come in here and be part of, the team concept and come on in and then, earn any money off the floor. That's not going to be name, image, and likeness. It can't be number one, Emoni. Number two, name, image, and likeness. Number three, draft stock. Number four, Michigan. What it needs to be, and this is kind of the conversation I think Juwan has with Emoni Bates. If you want to come to Michigan, number one, what's coming down here is Michigan. Number two is going to be Michigan and your teammates. Number three is going to be Michigan and the coaching staff and your teammates. And number four is going to be playing like a team, your teammates, the coaching staff, and Michigan. You want to put, being a student in there? That sounds good too. So those are the four things. So I think Bates's list, this is my impression of it, and Michigan's list, when they compare them, there's just no match. Now, could Bates say, look, I'm ready to be a team guy? And if there was a sudden coming together of Emoni Bates in Michigan where it didn't look like it was going to happen, it didn't look like he was going to Illinois, then I think that's what's happened, that he's convinced Juwan Howard and company that it's not about him and it's about the team. Now, you could say that's just lip service, and all those things are fair to say. One thing about Emoni, man, he is, whether he knows it or not, or his dad knows it or not, it's just it's swirling. It's just controversy and, constant talk about him and all of those things. Maybe it's not all true. But maybe some of it is. And whatever the case is, he is still out there. I was always somebody that was open, for Emoni Bates because of the talent. And I knew that if he was going to go to Michigan, it was going to be about Michigan's list and not Emoni's list. And so, not that I'm hopeful for that, because are you really changing everything up? Probably not. And I think from Emoni, who went to Louisville and thought, that he brought his wallet in and said, hey, where's it at? And they were like, whoa, wait a second. That's not the way it's going to work here. And so Emoni is back out there, shopping himself. I constantly find it interesting that, Eastern Michigan, his name is, on his list. So, and there'll be another team that'll jump in. Somebody's going to give him something like Eastern Michigan. I haven't been contacted by the true EMU collective, but I don't get the feeling that, that Eastern Michigan is putting together, any kind of collective, to throw at Emoni Bates. Now, maybe they should think about, putting something together because, the George Gervin Center, if Eastern Michigan did get Emoni Bates, that would be a hell of a draw, for the Gervin Center, for the Iceman Center. Just a thought on how that might go. All right. Some last thoughts here. Antoine saying that the Yousseff looks a little bit like France with more athletic ability and aggression. Ty says we need to show this guy Dearborn so he can commit to Michigan. Well, Ty, Dearborn, I don't have the census in front of me, but I've always thought throughout my life, and I've heard it, is that, Dearborn has the largest population of Lebanese Americans in the country. So, yeah, I would think that, the Arab American community in Southeast Michigan, I would think that would be a draw. But I don't know. That's something that you're bringing up that I would think that would help Michigan. So a name to keep an eye on, and we'll see. You don't have to keep an eye on Emoni Bates. It's a saga at this point. He is a local guy. We'll see what ends up happening with him. We'll see what happens with Yousseff Khayat, that maybe he ends up in the maize and blue. Programmer reminder that we'll get to in a minute. First, I want to show you some rings. Michigan did get their Big Ten championship rings for winning the Big Ten in 2021. Here's an all-side look at them. This is a big, fat ring. On one side, you got Big Ten champs 2021. On the other side, you got Harbaugh, Coach Harbaugh, on the other side with a Michigan helmet. I like the rings. Here's what I thought was interesting. I have a picture up of a former Wolverine wide receiver, John Colasar. You may remember John Colasar's exploit at split end for the Wolverines. He was awesome, scored a lot of big touchdowns for the maize and blue. A couple of those touchdowns from Jim Harbaugh. His son, Cade Colasar, number 35. They got together at I don't know if there was a ring ceremony, but I saw a lot of Wolverines with pictures. AJ Henning on his TikTok page. I took some of his video and I put it on our TikTok page. So go to that Maize in Blue review TikTok page and you can see AJ Henning dancing with a couple of his teammates and showing off their jewelry. Jalen Harrell and Mike Morris were joined by AJ Henning on his TikTok to show. But if you just look at the size of the rings over the years, Colasar, John, put on his son Cade's Big Ten ring, and then you see the rings from the 80s. I might have to show this to Scarcelli tomorrow. So, like, you could wear the Big Ten championship rings, I would think, without, it's not too gaudy, but, I think gaudy is maybe what you're looking for. Because the one that Michigan has now, are you ever wearing that out? Now, I'm going to be married 9 months this week, and I don't have a wedding ring on. I had 2 of them, and I lost both of them. I remember the first one I had, I wasn't even a couple months married, and I remember being in a gas station. I was waiting in line. I'm kind of waiting there, and I kind of just looked down, and I'm like, hey, where's my ring? It just wasn't there. So I have no idea where that one went. I got another one a couple years later. It's titanium one, real nice. But I put on too many pounds, and what happens when you do that is that not only does your waistline get bigger, but your fingers get a little chubbier, and so it was getting to be too tight. So I would take the ring off a lot. Some people just put it on, never take it off. That's probably the way I would like to do it. So I don't know. I think it ended up dropping down. Must have dropped down one of the vents here at the house. And what are you going to do when that happens? I don't know that. I kept thinking that it would turn up, but I haven't worn a wedding ring for 6 years. All right, that just got me off the path here. I look good in a jewelry box. I just don't know where you're wearing, the Big Ten championship ring. The nice problem to have. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Ty says that's a big ring. Yes, it is. I've seen some of the. I saw all the way back to, what was it? The 2000 Ravens. I think they're doing this after the NFL team. I had a 2000 Ravens championship ring, and that thing was as big or bigger than this one. So that's over 20 years ago. And then a couple of years ago, Larry Foote, I was at an event where Larry was at, and he let me hold. I know this thing, like you could do curls with Larry Foote's ring. I put the picture up here a couple of months ago that I had, but it was big or bigger than the championship ring. So that's it, man. You get a big championship ring now. That's the way you do it. Antoine says I should have got that resized. Yeah, well, my resizing, Antoine, my idea was, instead of getting it resized, was that I was going to resize myself. I lose a little weight, and then I'll be like, hey, that ring fits on my finger pretty good now after I lost that weight. But yeah, I get it. At some point, you could say, if I'm either going to wear a ring or resize it. It's kind of like going up in a size or shirt, a size shirt or not, or pants. You're like, oh, okay, am I really just either going to lose the weight, or am I going to go buy, some new clothes? Know what I'm saying? Speaking of Jim Scarcelli, who we will show the rings to tomorrow, he is normally joining us, Scarcelli, on Thursday, but Scar is going to a football camp on Thursday, so he is going to join us tomorrow. Scarcelli is going to talk about some things that Jim Harbaugh is doing right now that people are not aware of. I was trading text with Scar today, and we will also talk about that game on October the 1st this year. That is when Michigan, 4-0 Michigan, goes in to play Iowa in Iowa City. We will talk about the Iowa Hawkeyes, and we'll have a preview tomorrow with Jim Scarcelli. All right. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and rate the podcast if you listen, and any kind of feedback you can give us, reviews, those are all appreciated and definitely help out. Until tomorrow at 1 o'clock, Dennis Fithian. So long, everybody. Get those rings resized. Nice championship rings. Take care. Talk to you tomorrow. Let's hit the end of